In this presentation, we're going to look at how to compute the mean for grouped data. So what we're going to do is look at an example. So here we have 5 class intervals, and the class intervals are 350 to 400, 400 to 450, 450 to 500, and so on. And in each case, we have, for each of these intervals, we have a frequency here. So the interval for the frequency for the first interval here is 14, 19, 31, and so on. All of the frequencies sum up to 100. So altogether, we're dealing with 100 items altogether. So the sum of f equals 100. It's these 5 values here added up. Okay, so the mean for grouped data is computed as follows. So we have the two summation terms here. We've already computed one. It's the sum of all the items. So I'll just draw your attention to that. That's the total number of items. Now, but this one here, what we have to do is compute the frequency for interval I and multiply it by the midpoint for the interval. And for each interval, we have to perform this calculation. So let's do that now. First off, what we're going to do is find the midpoints. So the midpoint of the first interval, if the interval is 350 to 400, so the midpoint is around 375. Now you don't have to be too exact. If you recall that there's a rule that a certain point can be in one interval only, but we'll just look at the upper bound and lower bound of the intervals without being too particular about are they allowed to take those values. So anyway, the first midpoint is 375, 425, 475, 500, and 575. So those are the midpoints of each of those intervals. So what we're going to do now is multiply this value here with this value here for each case. So we're going to multiply 375 by 14, we're going to multiply 425 by 19, and so on. So let's do that. So I've set up this table here, and I have the an extra column here on the right hand side. So in the first case, we're going to use this is calculator work now, but in the first case we have 375 by 14, so that's 5250. In the next case, 425 by 19, so that's 8075. We're going to multiply 475 by 31, and that works out to be 14725. 525 by 18, that works out to be 9450. And lastly, 575 times 18, that is 10350. The next thing we're going to do is add up all of these values in this column here. So 5250 plus 8075 plus 14725, and so on. And what we get is a sum total of 47850. Okay. Now you might notice that that is the summation of each of those products there. So that is actually the top part of the formula that we're working with, and earlier on we found the bottom part of that formula. So we're pretty close to the finish here. So let's look at that formula again. So the mean here is the sum of the products, where the product is the frequency times the midpoint for each interval, and divide that by the sum of the frequencies, which is essentially just the sum of the items. So x bar equals 47850 divided by 100, and that gives us 478.5. And that is the end of our presentation.